Hello, everyone. This is Angel Arts, and welcome to another episode of Let's Interview the finalists for the Dragon Age Season 3 Tabletop campaign on the channel. Here we have today is Dominic. Hi, Dominic.
Hi.
And as you can see, Dominic has selected Kevin to be his interviewer. So it's amazing having you back here, Kevin.
Thank you for having me back.
Yes.
So I'm assuming you're familiar with the channel. Like, have you watched any of the previous campaigns? Or
Yes. I was introduced to Hark's channel through, I think, Dawnforged cast recommending Dragon Age Season 1. And at the time, I had been playing RPGs for about a year. I started with Pathfinder. And I'm pretty sure Hark's channel was the first introduction to really solid, high-quality narrative roleplay. And as soon as I saw it, I went, I want to do that. And I watched all Season 1, adored it. It's Dragon Age Season 1. It's still probably my favorite out of all the campaigns, but I haven't seen 3 of them. I stopped when about Pokemon started, but beyond that, watched the first 3 and then kind of went off. And then just in my YouTube recommended, it said, hey, Dragon Age Season 3 auditions. And I went, let's get on that.
You said Dragon Age Season 1 was your favorite.
Yes.
When watching that, because I love that one too. Easily top 3, if not number 1. What moment, if you had to pick just one, impacted you the most? Like what moment made you stunned and shocked the most?
I think it was more just the whole experience. I'm sure I can point out a moment or two. Just the whole thing of, I think that was a perfect cast. It was perfect characters. I loved how there was a really unique element to each character. But there was kind of the darker, more wild mage in Delwyn that you had Maximilian, who again was my favorite. You had the token rogue in Lucky Jack, and it with how the NPCs worked on top of the world building, where I like alternative fictions for established worlds. But if it gets a little too crazy, sometimes I'm a little put off by that. So it was just the right amount of what if, plus the perfect cast, plus perfect role playing. Plus, I'd never seen something quite like that before. I was first introduced to RPGs through Acquisitions Inc., so I knew about the role play aspect of it, but that was the time where I went, yeah. And just kind of everything together made me go, this is awesome.
So tabletop gaming is a very team-focused game. What do you think you bring to the table, not just to elevate yourself and your story, but the others around you?
As I said in the audition, about the first year of my RPG experience, I played, and then the other 6 I DM'd, and I'd say 98% of the time I'm a DM. I haven't been a player in 3 years or something. I adore DMing mainly because I get to see my friends smile, and I get to see them have fun at the story we're weaving together, and I get to help them make that story. That's kind of the thing. At the end of every session, whether I'm a player or a DM, I'm better about it as a DM, but my goal is always to make sure everyone had fun. Everyone came out of that session having a good time, whether it was a good time because they went, no, why did that cliffhanger happen then? Or if it was, that was some amazing role play, or even if it was a depressing session, but it was such a good story that everyone went, that was satisfying. It's always my goal to make sure everyone's having fun. And I try to, as a DM, I'm always aware, has this person talked a little bit? Is this person more of a passive player? Are they wanting to engage in something? I'm trying to be aware of that. So as a player, I don't have as much control over that aspect of it, but I definitely try to employ that. This is a game. It's a great story, but it's also a game. Everyone should have fun. And I'm going to do my best to make sure everyone's included without hogging too much, which is a problem of mine sometimes.
Kind of stealing from Hark back when I was in his game. I believe it was session 0. His first warm-up question was, if you were in Dragon Age, what race and what class would you be and why?
A bard, but not the Orlesian bard, just like a normal ass bard. Just
Okay.
yeah, I'd probably still be some sort of storyteller. That's the thing that I'd say I'm good at. Yeah, some like writer or singer or something that's creative in nature that creates art of some sort, I'd say. And probably human because I don't really see myself being a elf or Qunari or anything else.
So my biggest reservation for you is I've seen your interview, I've talked with you in just the first few minutes. You have a very big personality, which I do love.
Thank you.
As you said, you have a lot of experience, you've DM'd, you are a big theater person. All wonderful things that brings a lot to the table of role-playing. However, as you have said, because you have a lot of experience, you've been a DM, you're a big theater person, you tend to ramble, as you said just before we started, and you have a big personality. Somebody like that can easily dominate the table and can easily overshadow other players. I've seen it happen in my games as well.
I've seen it happen in mine with me.
Looking at some of the other people in the roster, we have a good number of people who are quieter, who are less assertive, they've never done tabletop campaigns ever. This is going to be their first time. So, given that that is my number one reservation for you, what is your response? And I want something that's even more, expand more on what you had said earlier. What is your response to that?
Well, it's, I'd say, probably the most accurate thing that will be the problem with me. Relatively recently, I had a lot of mental health issues come up that I'm still going through, and it's caused a lot of like self-esteem and self-hate and depression and all that sort of stuff, which it's a lot better now, but it's still going through. And it's always a feeling of, I'm not perfect, then I'm going to fail. It probably comes from the fact that I have an LA agent and manager, and I'm an actor, and I've been auditioning for 9 years and gotten 0 roles. Especially when growing up, it doesn't give a very good mental state, especially when you're constantly being said, "Hey, you're the next Dakota Fanning, you're the next Taylor Joe Osment." Great, why is nobody hiring me? But it's something that is probably why I'm so in your face and I'm so like trying to do things. Like I'm that annoying asshole who's gonna pick up your mini and say, "No, you should move over here because it's the tactically optimal play." And it's just slowly over time, I'm just cracking down on it as much as I can. I mean, I can't promise I'll be able to always contain it, but usually if I'm made aware of it, I shut up. And most of all, I love introducing new people to this hobby because it's, I think, probably the best hobby ever. Legitimately, I might not be alive if it weren't for RPGs right now. So, especially with new players and with quiet people, like you don't need to be loud to be creative and to tell a story. In fact, sometimes the exact opposite. So basically, I would do my best to be aware of that, to be aware of my faults, and to like I've gotten a lot better about sharing the spotlight. A lot of my time in DMing has gotten me good at that. And I'm really good at letting other people have their moment. But when I get my moment, I tend to overstay my welcome. So it's more just about making sure I know when to stop.
So for whatever reason, I'll let you be the creator of that. You find yourself in the White Spire, whether it's for knowledge, for out of curiosity, for whatever reason. Maybe you just accidentally stumbled in.
I got my reason.
Yeah.
And would his bracer be prominently shown?
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, when you like intercept Daertham, he would definitely like at first start to probably mouth something back, but then his eyes glance down, sees you, sees the bracer, and then he shuts up and follows.
I don't really know why you're here, but Come on, if you're going to stay here, if you have questions, we can talk about this later, but you're different than Razakale, and I need to I need reassurances. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, what gave it away?
Yes, charming voice. Cedric, by the way, I don't know who you are,
I
but
know
please.
who you are, Sir Ashwood. You're quite popular among the awakened.
Ah, good. You know them. That makes me feel a little bit better.
And you might not have it, but he says, when he says you know them, he says,
Unfortunately.
Yes. Well, and he will push open a door once you guys are at the top, and you'll see a wide, vast, open room with a single. It looks like a bird bath with
okay.
bluish liquid in the middle, like just kind of floating there.
Daertham kind of looks around. I imagine he's put on like wrappings or something to hide his features, but the thing that probably gave him away is the blood red pupilless eyes that you kind of went, yeah, Darkspawn.
Yeah.
And he has a cloak on. The head is kind of bunched up from the flattened but still present tentacles. Is there anyone else in the room currently, or does it seem relatively private?
For you, it seems relatively empty. On the way up, people would have probably given a glance over, but Cedric would have given them like death stares, and they would have just quickly like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So at this, Daertham kind of sets his staff, like just leans the pretty much like unadorned black iron staff against the wall and says,
"Do you mind? It's a bit suffocating."
Cedric will close the door behind him. Of course.
And the hood will go back. And already, as soon as the hood goes back, you see like this like slowly moving mass of tentacles. It's pretty disturbing. And then the face wrapping slowly comes off, and you see the lovely image you saw in the art.
Right. I'm just going to assume that is normal. So, if for whatever reason you're here, if you're planning on staying, I'm going to need some reassurances for the other magic users, and frankly, the other Templars as well, so they don't just kill you on sight. I don't know if you're familiar with this room, but we call this the harrowing room.
No, I'm not. But I do not intend to stay for long. Only some personal research.
Excellent. Well, if you're planning on staying for any amount of time, you need to pass this test before you're allowed to stay.
And the purpose of this test is?
Reassurances. So that my men or the other mages...
As in, what does it do?
Ah, yes. Well, harrowings are an advanced test for magic users where it sends you to the Fade.
Physically?
No, not physically, no.
And you see, like, he tensed for a little bit, but then when you say that, he relaxes.
Very well.
He'll step up and reach back, grab the staff, the long, like, grotesquely elongated fingers reaching around the staff. The nails almost seeming too sharp. You can see now that there are also slightly pointed ears among the mass. This is a shriek emissary, which I don't imagine is as common as Herlock emissaries.
You do the ritual to begin the harrowing. Everything goes to black.
He opens his eyes and is kind of, his body tenses like he's expecting something.
So you kind of take a look around. It's as you would expect the Fade to look, like the whole floating rocks and everything. And as you're kind of looking around, you hear a little girl's giggle coming in the distance. It definitely sounds like your sister. your little sister.
Fuck.
As he says that, the visage of your little sister kind of appears. It looks like she's laying or sitting on the ground playing with some toy. Before she looks at you, her eyes go wide and then runs a couple steps before a door appears, and she runs through the door.
Why didn't you run before?
With a growl, he will move forward.
The door is a nice wooden door with stone archway.
He does hesitate, and he starts clenching his fist, and the nails dig into his hand. A little bit of blood starts to pool, or what would be mental blood. The pain helps him focus a little bit, and he...
Let's get this over with.
And he steps forward.
As you step forward and go through the threshold of the door, your surroundings change. There's no longer floating rocks or anything. There's bookshelves. As you look around, many of the spines of the books don't have anything that you can understand. It seems to be in a foreign language on either side of you. And as you keep moving through the corridor of the books, you see a elongated table where there's kind of a shade of a humanoid reading a book. And it doesn't seem to be facing you. But as you get closer, his head will kind of cock up. And he'll close the book and turn to face you. Ah, a visitor. It's been some time. And he'll place the book on the table and kind of fly over to you and kind of circle around you. He's much smaller in stature than you are, so he kind of starts at the bottom and raises up.
And who do I have the pleasure to have as my host?
Many of them call me the archivist. You're an interesting one. The Templars don't normally send someone like you to me.
Wonderful.
Tell me, who are you? Where are you from? I'd love to add you to my notes.
A dead man walking.
And is that your name?
Daertham.
Ah. Interesting. Tell me, Daertham, where are you from?
Minrathos. I'm sure my family came from somewhere else. Maybe even Arlathan. But I was born in Minrathos.
Minrathos. And as you look at the figure, another book will appear, and on the spine it'll say Dartham. And he'll start writing exact word for word what you're saying in a dialect that you can read. Ah. I'm a chronicler, you see. Tell me, did the Templars send you? I'm assuming they did.
Yes, one of the Pentavier, if that means anything to you.
Please don't tell me it was Cedric. He's such a bore.
He does his duty. That's admirable.
Yes. If you could perceive, it seems like the entity in front of you kind of grows bored and kind of like floats back like, oh, it's just another one that Cedric has sent me. Well, I'm assuming he sent you on a trial.
Yes, harrowing, he called it.
Oh, I swear I can never get anything done if he keeps sending me more and more.
Well, then stop allowing them in.
I would, but I owe a favor to another one of the Guardians. His wife.
One of water.
Yes. And he will go and close the book and put it on an empty space in the shelf. You can still read your name on the spine.
Mm-hmm.
He puts it among others where you cannot read. Like, you can tell that there's writing on the spines, but there's no other. You assume that those are just other names.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been fun, but I really don't have a test for you. I've grown bored of this. I normally just let them pass on. Once I collect their names, of course.
Worst harrowing instructor ever. But you see Daertham kind of smiles. One thing that the archivist, Cedric probably wouldn't know, but every time Daertham smiled, it's never reached his eyes. And considering the archivist, that's probably something he would note.
Notes to add. And he'll kind of like raise his hand and seem to touch his nose, but there's nothing there. There's no face.
Yeah.
Well, the door is right across the way. You can continue.
Anything I should know, or
The next one, it's more like Cedric. And then he fades into another bookshelf.
so very good or very bad?
And he will move to the next door.
As you enter to the next door, the vision changes. There are no longer bookshelves. You see what appears to be a forge-like building, and there's another man in a suit of armor hammering away. And as he turns to you, you see this. You see the Templar emblem encrusted on his armor, and he says, "Ah, you." But before he can finish anything, the vision fades. The room dissipates, and you're back standing just on a flat piece of earth. A few seconds pass.
Is that it?
You hear your sister crying, and you get this kind of sense that there's something behind you happening.
He can't stop all the different scenarios that are running through his head, especially the most prominent. He will force himself to turn around. If we were doing mechanics, he probably would like take a point of damage from the he inflicts upon himself.
Okay. You see a visage of you holding your sister, about ready to take a bite out of her neck.
Mhm.
Something that you dream about often. But as you're doing it, it seems to be a stilled image. And in front of that, the ground starts to open. Pools of red liquid start to pop out as you see a claw reach out from the ground and lift itself up. You would recognize this as a rage demon.
Mm.
And he takes a deep breath in. He goes, it's been some time since I've smelled unbridled rage within another candidate. One that I could not just ignore. Sweet rage.
I'm sure you'll be full to bursting with mine.
Interesting. Who are you? You're not like the others.
Is that what everyone's going to say?
Possibly.
Better get used to it then.
Tell me, do you give in to your rage often?
It's hard not to.
Isn't it? It's so delectable just watching it ooze off of you. And he kind of surrounds you, kind of like what the Wisp was doing, or the archivist was doing. But this time, it seems like he's sniffing and breathing in something.
If he had access to an ice spell, he would not cast a spell, but slowly start just cooling the area like around him in a small circle, just to make a little warning sign.
Oh, this one has magic. Interesting. Ice magic.
I
You
dabble.
don't want me to get close.
I know what happens when one of you does.
But think of all the rage we could do together.
I think you expect our rage to be dominant. Sure, you could join me, but you would be dead even sooner than me on my own.
Oh? Are you worried about that little Templar that's waiting for you?
And the other, 100 or so in the tower.
Pawns, I say. With your rage and mine combined. Unstoppable.
And when he says that, he kind of looks thoughtful for a little bit.
Good enough of a death. No, not yet. I'll have to refuse.
Are you sure?
Yes, quite.
The things we could do together.
I shouldn't do things.
Fine. I guess I'll just wait for the next specimen that Cedric sends.
Enjoy your time.
And this time, you see the rage demon kind of get closer to you, but it melts into the floor. The vision of the Templar making armor appears again, banging, and he'll turn and he'll say, "You're still here? The door's right that way."
No test, just move on.
"What do you mean? You've already passed the test." And he'll start hammering at the piece of metal.
Good enough for me.
And he'll move on.
You enter the third door. This time, you see your sister standing. She's holding a doll. "Big brother, won't you come play with me?"
You're too good for this world.
As you speak, your voice changes back to your old voice before you were a Darkspawn.
Yeah. And as that happens, it's so far as we've seen Daertham in kind of the scenes, the only time where the smile seems genuine, but it's not like a smile of relief or joy. It just seems wistful and pained. And as his voice changes, you're too good for this world.
"Oh, but brother, can't we play just a little bit?" And as she says that, a mirror appears in front of you. You see your old self. As you take yourself in, the mirror will kind of shatter and then sink back into the ground. And as your vision is now no longer being blocked by your reflection, you will see your family, your wife, your little sister, kind of standing in the background. And they're all beckoning you to come forward. You hear your sister, "Come on, big brother. We can play so much more over here. Just a few more steps."
And he looks up and he starts to take a step forward. And he starts to get a bit choked up, but he stops himself and just shakes his head. "I doubt I'll ever deserve you all again, but I can at least make sure your fate never occurs to anyone else. Maybe that'll be enough."
"What do you mean?" "But Mama has just cooked her favorite meal, your favorite meal." And as she says that, you smell your favorite home-cooked meal, but there's something slightly off about it. It's exactly how you remember it, but there's just something a little bit off.
He would start to try to go forward, but he feels that less of a smell, more of just a distinct feel, just a feeling.
Mhm.
And he would close his eyes as a sharp whispers go into his head of Dumat, of Erthemiel, of all 5 of the archdemons he was enthralled by. 3 more. Just 3 more.
So you do not follow the girl or anything? Some time will pass. Yeah. And the girl will kind of melt away. And so will your family. And it'll be replaced by another figure, a desired demon. They just keep getting better and better at spotting my traps. I must be getting rusty. No.
It's not you.
Well, if you're not willing to join, I guess I have no further use for you. And she'll kind of flick her hand, and a door to your left will appear to you as she kind of turns and kind of fades into the distance.
And he would briskly grab his staff and start walking. Right before he enters the door, he would stop.
Just 3 more.
And enter.
As you enter, the fade dissipates and darkness comes. It seems like you blink almost. And as you blink, the room around you reconstructs. You're lying on the ground. Cedric is holding a sword above your chest. So it is you. And he'll sheath his sword. Well, the study and library are yours. Do with them what you will. But know that I'll still be watching you. And he'll turn and just walk out of the room.
Good. You should. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I never killed anyone. Not until this.
As you would see his Darkspawn form, his eyes look down and recalls
223,771. Men, women, toddlers, babes alike. The Awakened may have been given a second chance, but we are a plague on this world. Whether I die in the process or I succeed, I will end the blights. I will gut those fucking old gods. And then I will ensure the taint is eradicated before I finally rejoin my family. It's more than I deserve. And who knows, maybe I'll die before then. Either would do.